Hey loves, I'm on a mission to build $1 million business right here in the pride of Africa. Some people follow trends, others study them, but a rare few have the audacity and the vision to shape them. From building powerful brand stories to unlocking opportunities for the next generation of creators, our guest lives at the intersection of creativity, culture, and commerce. He's a strategist, a storyteller, and a leader who isn't just talking about the future, he's actively building it. But what makes his journey truly compelling is what it extends into: communities, leadership, and into purpose. Whether serving in Rotary leadership or driving youth transformation through the Empowerment Network Africa, he represents a generation that refuses to separate success from significance. As the founder and CEO of Dalmas Creations and a passionate advocate for youth empowerment across the African continent, he's redefining what it means to lead in the digital age, while staying grounded in purpose, impact, and authenticity. Get ready for a conversation that will challenge how you think, inspire how you act, and push you to reimagine your own potential. Welcome to Inspire with Shawn Dalmas, and today, the guest is me. Let me take you back to a moment that most people don't know about. There was a time I was cut out of a brand deal. Not because I wasn't good enough, not because I didn't deliver, but simply because someone in the agency world didn't like me as much. And in that moment, I had a decision to make. I could either accept that this industry is controlled by gatekeepers, or I could decide to become the gate myself. And that moment right there, that's where Dalmas Creations was born. Not from comfort, not from success, but from rejection. Because I made a promise to myself that I will never again have my opportunities controlled by someone else's opinion of me. And that's where it all began. At the beginning, Dalmas Creations wasn't even a company. It was just me, a creator, trying to understand how brands work, how deals work, and how influence actually translates into value. But at some point, my mindset shifted. I stopped seeing myself just as a content creator, and I started seeing myself as a business. And when that shift happens, everything changes. You start asking different questions. You start thinking about structure, about systems, about scalability. You begin to understand how content is just the surface and the real game is strategy, positioning, and execution. There was a time in my life when I realized something simple but powerful. Stories change everything. Not noise, not trends, not algorithm, stories. And I did not just want to sell stories. I wanted to build a company that could shape them with intention, precision, and strategy. That is how Dalmas Creations was born. I did not start Dalmas Creations because it was fashionable to run an agency. I started it because I understood the power of positioning. As a content creator, a speaker, and a young leader navigating rooms far bigger than me, I began to see a gap. Brands had vision but lacked clarity in communication. Young African voices had power but lacked structure amplification. There was brilliance everywhere, but it was not always being translated into influence. I decided to bridge that gap. Dalmas Creations is not just a media company, it's a strategic communications and digital storytelling powerhouse, built at the intersection of public relations, digital marketing, influencer strategy, podcast production, talent management, corporate branding, and AI data-driven analytics. But beyond the services, we build influence. We help brands refine their voice, dominate their digital presence, and build communities rather than chase vanity metrics. We convert visibility into authority and attention into tangible growth. We work with brands across industries from beauty and finance to technology and advocacy, helping them become culturally relevant and commercially effective at the same time. We manage talent with structure and long-term vision. We produce premium shows that shape conversations. We design campaigns that do not just trend for a week, but create sustained positioning in the market. At Dalmas Creations, we do not chase virality, we build legacy. For me personally, Dalmas Creations represents something deeper than business. It represents resilience, it represents rebuilding after setbacks. It represents choosing vision over limitation. It is proof that you do not have to wait to be chosen. You can build the table yourself and invite others to sit at it with you. If you're a brand looking to scale with strategy, an organization seeking to amplify impact, or a talent ready to operate at a higher level, Dalmas Creations is where strategy meets storytelling, and this is only the beginning. Dalmas Creations, mapping your success to the right destination. It's very interesting to understand how the company came to be. Now, it was December of 2024 when a friend of mine gave me a call and told me that he's looking to expand his business. Getting to know what his business actually does, he was in the same space that I was doing. But unfortunately, it didn't go as planned when he was starting. Now, sitting on the kitchen counter, speaking to a friend who I didn't know that he has amazing skills in branding and design, I told him the idea that I had of Dalmas Creations. And to his amazement, he found out that I wanted to build an exact replica of what he's been building. Now, these were two minds, two worlds that did not know each other that well. But in the business world, we were linked. I explained my vision. I explained what I wanted. I, with my strategy mind, and him with his skills of branding and design, we began to craft and really craft and design how we want Dalmas Creations to be. With my basic skills of branding, I had jumped on Canva at some point and I designed a logo. But the logo had the vision of how I wanted the company to be and what I wanted the company to stand for. Dalmas Creations' slogan says, mapping your success to the right destination. The design of the logo sits as a location pin on a land to really mimic the slogan of the company. And that is exactly what I designed on Canva. Now, sharing this with my friend, it was so funny because his response was pure laughter of what I had done. And he told me one thing: I will sit on it, and by tomorrow, you'll have the logo that you will love. And truth be told, I did not have any edit whatsoever on that logo. And today, that is the logo that Dalmas Creations uses. We pitched 4 months without knowing if the company will actually be seen, without knowing if any company or brand or client will want to use our services. Now, mind you, the company is not in existence. Therefore, my friend is working for free, I'm working for free, no one is getting any payment out of this. January goes by, February goes by, March 2025 goes by, and we are still crafting proposals. We are still designing the company. And truth be told, it was night and day of trying to get a client to believe in my craft and his positioning in the company. Come April 2025, I officially registered the company as a private limited company. And 3 days later, we get our first ever client. I remember telling him about this, and he was overjoyed because all the nights, all the days that we crafted proposals and he designed how the campaigns are going to look, how the branding is going to look, and how the communication structure of the campaigns and the proposals that we were doing were going to come out, paid off. This was the first time that we felt validated for our work, our nights, our toils, and our tears. And that day, I remember telling myself that this is not just a company, this is a legacy that we are building. Today, he moved from being a graphics designer for the company and now sits as the head of content of Dalmas Creations. Why am I telling you this? For me, this wasn't just a friend who I brought on board for the company to grow or be seen in light of amazing colors and an amazing logo. This was a partnership that I wanted it to grow, a partnership that I wanted it to position the company and the legacy that I was trying to create. And I didn't just want to do it with anyone. I wanted to do it with someone I trust, someone I can count on. And truth be told, we have both executed the work that we both set out to do impeccably. Now, the early days were not perfect. In fact, they were messy. I made mistakes, and I mean serious mistakes. There was a time I took on a project and undercharged significantly. I didn't factor in my costs. I didn't think long term, and that one decision almost collapsed everything before it ever had a chance to grow. The company was on the edge, and that experience forced me to grow quickly. That's when I made one of the most important decisions in my journey of building the company. I brought in a CFO because I realized something that I carry with me to this day. Vision without structure is dangerous, and passion without numbers will break you. Then came the moment that felt like validation. My first major breakthrough as a creator was working with CeraVe. Not just a one-off deal, but a full-year partnership. And for me, that wasn't just about money. It was proof that consistency works, that showing up matters, that building a brand with intention actually pays off. On the Dalmas creation side, securing a 7-figure deal with a European client and working on a deal with the United Nations shifted everything for me. Because I was young, and yet I was sitting in rooms that most people believe you need years of experience to access. And what I learned in that moment is that those rooms don't care about your age. They care about your value, your execution, and your consistency. Age is not a limitation. It's just an excuse people use when they are not ready. Now, Inspire, my little baby. Inspire was different. Inspire took time. Over a year, mind you. Not because I didn't know what I wanted to build, but because I doubted whether it would be as impactful as I envisioned. I was pitching to brands, having conversations, trying to get people to believe in something that didn't even exist. And that's one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. Selling a vision before there's proof takes a miracle. But the reason I kept pushing was because I saw a gap. The most watched podcast in the world is The Diary of a CEO, and millions of Africans listen to it. But how many African stories are being told on that platform? Almost none. And I had to ask myself, why are we consuming stories but not telling our own? That question stayed with me for months. And that's when I knew that Inspire is not just a podcast. It's a platform for African stories, African excellence, African stories to be seen and heard on a global stage. Because I didn't just want to be part of conversations. I wanted to host them and be the legacy that builds them. At the same time, I was being exposed to something deeper through Rotary, through leadership, and through my work with different organizations, including the United Nations. And I kept seeing the same pattern. Young people have potential, but they lack access. Access to opportunities, access to mentorship, access to information, access to rooms that can change their lives. And that realization led to the Empowerment Network, because I knew that building businesses alone was not enough. I wanted to build people. I wanted to create systems that empower others, not just platforms that elevate me. Because at the end of the day, success without impact is empty. And for me, impact is not a side project. It's the foundation of everything that I'm trying to create. But let me be honest with you. Building one thing is hard, but building 3, that's where there's pressure. There are days where everything demands your attention at the same time. Dalmas Creations needs you, Inspire needs you, Empowerment Network needs you. And in those moments, you start to question whether you're stretching yourself a little bit too thin. You feel the weight of the responsibility, the expectations, and the uncertainty. There are deals that don't go through, unfortunately, opportunities that fall apart, moments where things didn't align the way I planned. And sometimes I even doubt myself. But one thing I learned is that pressure is not something to run from. Pressure is a privilege because it means you're building something that matters. Now, through all of this, there are lessons that continue to shape me. I've learned that you don't need clarity to start. And that was key. You need courage. I've learned that discipline will take you further than motivation ever will. There are days that I sleep and I don't want to wake up. There are days that in the morning, the bed is so sweet, especially when it's raining. I love sleeping when it's raining because I feel the comfort. It's a little bit too warm there. But you still wake up. That's discipline. That's not motivation. I've also learned that your network will determine your growth. That the rooms you enter will either expand your vision or limit your potential. I've learned that your personal brand is leverage. That how you show up in the world creates opportunities that you cannot always predict. And most importantly, I've learned that execution beats ideas every single time. Everyone has ideas, by the way, but very few people are willing to build. And at the center of everything I'm doing is legacy. I'm not just building for today. I'm building for the future, for the family I will have, for the life I am praying for the impact I want to leave behind. Because one day, I want my partner, my children, and my future Dalmas Jr. to look at what I built and feel proud, not just of the success, but of the purpose behind it, of the lives touched, of the systems created, and of the impact made. So before I leave you, I want to speak to you directly, not as a CEO, not as a creator, but as someone who is still in the process of becoming. Because the truth is, there is no moment where you arrive. There is only growth and the decision to keep growing. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait until you feel ready. You don't wait until everything makes sense, because it never will. You start either way. You start when it's uncomfortable, when you're unsure, when you don't have the full picture. Because clarity does not come before action. Clarity comes from the action itself that you do. Now, there will be moments where you doubt yourself. I know I did. Where you feel like you're behind. Where you compare your journey to people who seem ahead of you. Keyword, seem. But you're not late. You're not behind. You're simply in your process. And your process is not supposed to look like everyone else's. There will be times where things don't work out, where the deal doesn't go through, where people you expected to support you don't show up. And in those moments, you have to decide, do you stop or do you grow? Because rejection is not a sign to quit. It's a sign to refine, to reposition, and to become better. Your environment matters more than your motivation ever will. People you surround yourself with, the conversations you entertain, the spaces that you step into, they will either elevate you or limit you. So be intentional. Protect your energy. Protect your time. Not everything deserves access to you. And as you grow, you will realize discipline becomes your greatest asset. Not motivation, not hype, not external validation. Discipline. The ability to show up when you don't feel like it. To stay consistent when results are not immediate. To keep building even when nobody's watching. Because the things that change your life are built in the moments nobody sees. Now, my loves, while you're building, don't lose yourself. Don't lose your values. Don't lose your authenticity. Don't become so focused on success that you forget why you started. Because success without alignment will feel empty. But at the same time, don't play small. Don't shrink your vision to make others comfortable. You are not created to fit in. You are created to build, to lead, to create impact, and to shift culture. Take yourself seriously. even when no one else does. Because one day you will. And when that moment comes, you want to be ready. You want your foundation to be strong, your systems to be in place, and your mind to be prepared for the weight of what you prayed for. Because growth comes with pressure. Responsibility comes with weight. And the life you're asking for will require a version of you that you have not yet become. So become that person daily through your habits, through your discipline, and through the decisions that you make every single day. And remember, you don't need to have everything figured out. No one ever has everything figured out. You just need to move. Move with intention, move with faith, move with consistency. Just move. Because over time, those small actions compound. They build, they transform, and one day you will look back and realize everything you are working for, everything you are praying for, everything you are building was slowly coming together. Not all at once, but piece by piece, step by step, day by day. So keep going. Stay focused, stay disciplined, stay grounded, and most importantly, believe in what you're building, even when nobody else can see it yet. And remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, but every single day, they built Rome. This is Inspired by Shawn Dalmas, and I'll see you on the next one.